You don't get this stuff from Howard Stern Show. You don't get this stuff from anything but Renegade Radio.
It's the Red River Valley Motorcyclist Spirit of America Bike and Car Show, Saturday and Sunday, May 3rd and 4th at the Alara Center in Grand Forks, and they're looking for sponsors and vendors. This is a great opportunity to get your business noticed by thousands of people for this 2 long days of this awesome event. If you'd like to get your business noticed, or if you'd like a booth, contact Sarah, 763-568-1946, or Dennis at 701-741-5205. There'll be a raffle with over $90,000 worth of prizes, including a Polaris 1000 North Star Ultimate Crew Cab Ranger, a Harley-Davidson Street Glide, and Polaris Sportsman 570, with the net proceeds benefiting the Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota, Minnesota. And veterans are absolutely free. Find out more by going to rrvmnd.org. Red River Valley Motorcyclist Spirit of America Bike and Car Show, Saturday and Sunday, May 3rd and 4th at the Alara Center in Grand Forks. Are you still putting off that project around the house that's been bugging you forever? Do you think you can wait until spring and call a contractor and have the work done ASAP? Well, good luck with that. Executive Properties has openings right now to get that project done. In fact, you can check out their Google reviews. Diane says Executive Properties did a roof project and remodeled a bathroom in our house. We were happy with their quality of work, and the projects were completed in a timely manner. We will use Executive Properties for our next home project. Get that project done sooner than later. Call Executive Properties, 701-330-1273.
And here we go. How's it going there, Ron?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm just getting things all set up while I was waiting for you and whatnot. So
there we go. Now I have full screen. Good.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Well, how's it going? We're on this fine.
I've just been working day and night, and I'm freaking exhausted. Crazy rundown.
What you been working on? Can you tell us, or is it a secret?
Thundermans for Nickelodeon. So we came back with I did the first 4 seasons, and now they've kind of got a new version of it. So I've been on this. It started around September. It was rather light. Then beginning of December, it got into the full schedule. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not used to 70-hour weeks anymore. It wears me out.
Yeah. I imagine that it does. It does. But no, we're honored to have you here on Renegade Radio. Here, it's very special to have you, and I appreciate Jacob for making this happen. Because he's been sending me a lot of good people as of late. So I'm very humbled that he knows so many wonderful people that he works with.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah. Young guy. I'm surprised because most agents are older guys or older women, and they're not nearly as nice sometimes.
Yeah. Welcome to the business. Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean it's weird how that works sometimes. I guess when it comes to that, but we got a good one anyway in Jacob. So it's
good.
I feel the future will be very bright, we'll just say.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to do great.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to have Ron Wasserman on the show, and he's not just a normal gentleman. He's a guy who has been around for most of pretty much if you're born in the 80s, 90s, whatever, like I was born in 83, so I was kind of raised in the 90s or early 80s, late 90s or whatever. And I grew up with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song. I grew up with X-Men, and I grew up with all the things that you probably have done that I don't even know about, But I do know about the Power Rangers and how big of a fan I was of that series. My brother and I were part of the big fan club where they were doing fan clubs and stuff back in the day of the original series.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on with that show. I wasn't really privy to any of it. I was just working, 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 and it was kind of the beginning of the internet. So it's not like you could pop online and see what people were thinking.
Yeah. And that's the thing about that. It's like it's very compared to now, compared to what we have
Oh
now. It's
yeah,
like it's weird how when the internet first got here, how people were. I mean, I'm sure there were some people that were a little hesitant, about it because they were, it was kind of a scary deal too because you didn't know what to expect from that.
sure.
Now we got this big thing called the internet. I mean, what's that all about? But now everybody's so used to it. They used to call it the World Wide Web, but now I don't even hear people talk like that no
Oh no. I mean, yeah, that WWW's got to go someday.
more.
It's just ridiculous. The whole thing.
So, as the guy who started, well, I mean, you didn't start around that time, but you kind of, you were in charge of doing. I kind of heard your story because I've watched some interviews that you've done and whatnot with other people over the last course of the last couple of years or so. Definitely a different range in a lot of the interviews because depending on who you were chatting with or whatever, you got to chat with even the black, what's it, black angry, not angry, but video game nerd or something, or black angry nerd or something. You chatted with him, or he chatted with you, or whatever. He's well known on YouTube anyway.
Hmm.
I might have butchered his name or whatever, but I remember seeing an interview with you and him, and he's a big fan of that time period as well. So as somebody that was pretty much in charge of doing the whole Power Rangers theme song, I mean, and then doing the music. I mean, I guess that was a big honor for you to be the one called to do that.
Well, I mean, I was the Bonds, when X-Men came in after that theme was done and part of that score. I didn't do the entire score, but most of it. And, from that point on, anything they needed with music, they would just come to me, and they started understanding that these high energy themes I wanted to write, or the music, or the rock stuff, or really fast tempos, which I do to this day when I can, really works. It works well with kids. So they were handing me everything to do. So yeah, I was thrilled to have a show that was so big, but I had no
Oh,
idea how big it really was. I mean, they'd call
yeah.
me and say it's doing incredibly well, and I'd say, all right, and they'd say, here's another episode, get on it. I mean, we're doing 52 a year, so and we won a song this week, and we have a show called, Sweet Valley High. We'd like a theme for, and we're thinking about this VR Troopers. If you can come up with something for that, maybe an idea, score the promo. We're shopping it to. Uh,
That's crazy. That you just had you do so much stuff.
Yeah, I've always done that. So there's been very few times where it's slowed down to just a simple schedule, which, I'm very fortunate.
Oh
But it
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
it just keeps going.
Well, that's good though. I mean,
Oh, it's
it
great.
gives you something to do, and plus it's like you don't have to worry about having a normal 9 to 5. I mean, I'm sure back in the day, when you were trying to figure out your life and figure out what you want to do, did you
Oh
have any
yeah.
odd jobs like working in a grocery store or
Oh,
retail
I
or
used
anything
to.
like that?
Let's see what I did. I dug ditches. I counted magnets. I worked at Toys R Us. I fixed dictation equipments for court transcribers. Uh, did paperwork, uh, was in the mailroom for Ronald Reagan's daughter, who had a company called Export America. Ironic. And
Yeah. Huh. Weird how that's
yeah,
similarity.
hung out with the Secret Service there while, playing in bands at night. I mean, that's just, I did everything I could to survive
So
until something would
okay.
happen.
So you're just the right guy at the right time. It seems like most of these moments that have happened in your life, did they pick you because you're just right. You're just here at the right time. It seems
Yeah,
like.
exactly. Yeah, it's that luck factor along with tenacity and never leaving places. I mean, I got called in the Saban to just engineer for a composer one evening, and I just parked myself there. Even though they weren't even paying me. Every free moment I had, I was at that place just trying to figure out how you score stuff.
So what's the process then? When they asked you to do the theme song, I mean, I heard that it didn't take you that long to do it, but like what was that? Just the adrenaline of just the excitement of coming up with a fresh idea, or were you just in the moment when it just happened, or like
I mean,
how do you describe that?
I just I don't know, these ideas, wherever they come from, they just pop into my head. So they come fast and furious, and especially with themes, used to always have digital recorders, or going back, like cassette recorders everywhere around the house, one in the car. Now of course everything's on the phone. I just grab the idea because it stays for a very limited amount of time. So now I'll sing it into my phone, and then I have to go back and figure out what the hell I was thinking when I sang in this melody. And if it comes back, most of the time it comes back. Then it's just the slow part of working it out, getting it out of my head, and getting all the sounds right. And
Sure.
that's the
Oh,
part that can take quite a while.
oh, absolutely,
But I
absolutely.
mean, now even this show I'm working on, I just look at the scene, I hear the whole thing in my head, and then I just have to work it out.
Yeah.
It's just it's luckily that simple and that hard. If I could put something on my head and just have it come out, wow, there'd be even 10 times more material. It never ends.
Yeah. And I figure, and going with that, it's like once this idea happens, and once it all goes the way that you want. I mean, how many times do you have to go back and rethink it, go back and edit and say, that it could have sounded better if I did this, or maybe I didn't need to do this, or maybe I should add this, or
Oh, I definitely do. I even do that on all this score I'm doing for this show. Luckily, I'm a bit ahead. It's a really hard schedule, but I'll go back 2 days later and listen. And there's a couple times I'll be like, just transitional stuff that's like 3 to 12 seconds. And I
uh,
just say, what the hell was I thinking? Go back and redo it. Or why did or I mixed it wrong. The timpani are too loud or whatever. So yeah, I go back and tweak. But at a certain point, you also have to let go and just say, time to send it to the producers and get their notes.
So, do you feel with the at least the theme song of the Go Go Power Rangers theme song that you would not change anything right now if you had to?
No, no, not a thing. That mix, that whole 2.5 hours of putting that thing together is just. I was in such a rush that I think it's great.
Okay,
It's
okay.
hard. It's hard to match it. I mean, you can hear everything, and usually in mixes there's some mud or some crud or something you can't hear. That one just turned out great. Where X-Men, which took 2 weeks of notes going up and back, that mix is really, really good, but it, I would change a few things,
Okay, okay.
open it
Well,
up just a hair. But it, it's
yeah,
it,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of it didn't hurt it as is. It's worked perfectly fine.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because when it comes to like anniversary releases or something like that, sometimes they'll want to remaster everything or rechange it or whatever, to make it a
Yeah.
little bit. I've heard of some really good mixes that were updated, and then I've heard some really shitty ones too. And boy, I tell you, sometimes it's good that they do that, and sometimes they just need to leave it alone.
Yeah, well, all those tracks, everything ever done, as far as I know, at Saban, not just the music, but the masters for the shows, everything was lost or destroyed when he sold it to Disney in 2001.
Oh,
So, I mean, it's all those tapes, all those tracks, everything is gone. Plus, back then you were working on tape, and unless they stored them perfectly, it would be almost impossible to transfer now. They have to bake them in an oven, and then you get one pass to transfer them, over to a
yeah, but
digital
what?
format
Yeah, but
now.
what they have done that? I mean, why would they have just thrown everything away? I would think they want to keep like a special artifact, for the Disney Museum or something, or just to say, hey, this is what we used to do. This is how it used to be.
Just Just no one cared. I mean, I had a machine room where I put their 2-inch tapes. They went at 30 inches per second. You could get about 9 minutes recording on them, and all those were just stacked in the machine room. And I remember I had to leave a note for the cleaning crew because they had a giant magnet on the end of their vacuum cleaner saying, please, don't vacuum this room, because if they bump the tapes, they're going to erase parts of it.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
storage was not a thing. And they wouldn't get me a backup drive for all the MIDI files, which were very small for all the shows. And when that Mac fried one day, we lost all those MIDI files, which, it's not the end of the world, but it would have been good to have for X-Men and Power Rangers and a bunch of shows. It was gone.
That's a word that I haven't heard in such a long time. MIDI files. I wonder if any of these kids are out here know what that even means.
Well, I mean, I write with MIDI. I mean, even, if you look behind me, there's where you can't see all the MIDI tracks. There's like 100 of them. Those are just the audio tracks. But yeah, you use MIDI, but you don't really, you don't output MIDI files anymore.
But I mean, I've heard of MIDI, a long time ago. It used to, that used to be what you like used for video games and stuff, and
Oh yeah, I had to do that and use that general MIDI. I had like 30 sounds to pick from the score, and very, very limited memory on these PC games. That's pretty funny.
That's what I mean. It's like it's just so amazing now. I mean, the graphics and just the way things are now. We live in a digital world, and we just, most of us just have to accept it. I know some people are against it and they want to go back to the Stone Age days, but you know what? I don't think they'd like it too much. I think they look at now, because I know a lot of people that are against technology. That continue to tell me that it ruined the world and everything. Well, I mean, you have to either adapt or perish, I guess. Either enjoy it or don't even bother with it. But technology has also been a big help. I mean, do you feel it makes your job easier? I mean,
oh God, I my whole life would be different without it. Be completely different. It's gotten better and better. I mean, the days of schlepping. I mean, back there behind me, and a Mac Studio that's only this big. Yeah, there's 128 gig of RAM. That's fine. But there's 9 terabyte on that alone, and then I back up to another. I have a 9 terabyte flash drive. There's no moving parts anymore. It's all digital. It's all solid state. It's pretty amazing. If that was on tape, there'd be like 1,000 reels of tape. It's just ridiculous.
So you said you were using a Mac back in the day. What kind of Mac were you using? Like, I can only imagine if you're back in the early 90s.
It was a small one that took disk drive, floppy disks, and maybe had, I honestly can't remember, maybe a 12-inch screen.
Was it a green screen, or was it just like an actual like Mac? No,
it was black, just black and white. And white. The early, and I ran a program called Performer, which later was Digital Performer, which I think they're still around, but I haven't used it forever. And everything was done on that, and that would be to my right with the keyboard, and to my left was a giant mixing console, and then way up high was like a 19-inch tube television where you watch the show. And to get all this stuff to sync up, if you wanted to do anything, you had to pre-roll everything for 30, 45 seconds on a system called Lynx, and then you just hoped it all locked so that you could record your bit in. And then you go back and do it again and again. So there was a lot of wasted time with that technology.
I mean, did they ever just get to you sometimes? You're like, I'm never going to get this done. I have a deadline, and it just this is not working.
Yeah, there was times, when I was doing vocals and I'd want to punch in 2 words, and I was my own engineer. So, you're sitting there and you're singing along and you punch in and punch out and whatever, you miss it and chop off a word. And I got to go back and lock and do 3 words and, just go until it's fixed.
Yeah, I tell you. So if you would have had the technology we have now, it would have been a piece of cake pretty much, I imagine.
Yeah, it would have been a lot faster. But I
Do
was
you
still
think?
blasting through like 8, 9 minutes of score a night and solid score and
Yeah.
a song on average every 2 weeks and the other stuff they needed. So the schedule was a little, I mean, it was actually horrible. Uh, I don't know. I have no idea. I blocked most of it.
Well, they gave you. They seems like they kept you busy long enough anyway, so it doesn't seem to
Crazy.
matter. So even if you would have had more time, it would have. They probably would have bombarded you with twice as much. So, oh,
Yeah.
can you do this
And
show? Can you do that show? We need a theme for this. Can you do that theme?
yeah, they would have been exposed to more material. They would have bought more. They would have shot more to the networks. I mean, everything would have just moved slightly faster.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, let's learn a little bit more about you personally a little bit because I feel like you're a guy that probably doesn't get enough credit. You probably do. I don't know because I don't know you personally at all, but it's just I feel like with your body of work that a lot of people that do the themes for things or just whatever either they're
Sure.
known for a lot of things or they're just or people just don't read the fine print or whatever. And I feel a guy like you who's had a legendary career already, uh, like back in the day when you were a kid and stuff, like what was life like for you, just before you got your calling?
Um, well, when I was a kid, I mean, I had, I was the artist. So, you know, people would love to hear me play, which was nice. And then I would shoot movies of them doing their skateboard stuff. And, I was just kind of, I had a lot of friends, but they were all like, athletes and like different guys, but they were very protective of me, very good. I was no good at fighting. Of course, I got picked on. They'd defend me. I grew up in a very controlling, which turned out to be fine, very controlled environment growing up. My mom, so she'd make me type since, from the moment I could sit up for 30 minutes a day. And, you know, God bless her. She got me way ahead of a lot of people and things because she said someday there's going to be something called computers and everyone's going to have one and you're going to be glad I taught you how to type. And she was right. And then playing piano, that she never really had to tell me to do it. I just did it. But I got, I would take, we were very poor, so we had good-hearted music teachers, but they wanted me to play classical, so I'd record them and then I do my own version, and they like pull the music up and say, "You're not even reading the music." And I said, "No, I ear things out." And they didn't like that, so they would politely ask me to leave. I've never, other than playing clarinet in junior high and orchestra, I've never passed a single music course ever.
Oh, that's
Which is,
kind of
fine. It's just the way my
well.
head works.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure back in those days, people just didn't know. Like they knew that you were good, but they were maybe a lot of them were just like, maybe he's too good, and we just don't want to tell him.
No, maybe they were thinking it's going nowhere. I mean,
Huh.
just sitting at the piano for hours at these, colleges. I would go part time, um, and people would walk me like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing?" I mean, they just didn't get it.
I
It's not
understand
like I
that.
was sitting there banging away at the thing. It's just I'm working out melodies, and it annoyed them maybe hearing the same thing over for 3 hours.
Oh, okay. So it was harder for you then. I see. The way I understood it, that it was easier for you because if you're good at playing, hearing the music rather than reading, because I can't read sheet music either. That has to be the most toughest thing for people. I don't know how a person's able to read sheet music. I can read the lyrics if you're singing a song,
Yeah,
but
sure.
not. I don't know a quarter from a rest or whatever. I mean, how does a person know that?
No, it wasn't that it was harder. It's just I wasn't going, I was working more towards songwriting and instrumental writing. And so you have a progression going and there's so many different changes you can put under it. So you want it to develop
Uh huh.
more and more. So it's always been a learning experience. It still is to this day. There's always a new way to voice things that just makes it more interesting for what's going on in the picture. You know, there's
So,
very few guys that just do it in their head immediately. John Williams is a perfect example of just,
sure.
he just knows everything.
So when did you know that this was going to be like something that you wanted to do? Like, I mean, even before the computers started and before you got your first big gig and everything.
Well, I figured, I thought I'd go into photography. I went to school for that, but really I was like average. So that was, I've always been very realistic about everything about myself in life. And,
Sure.
and so I started joining bands and I just met some amazing people and figured maybe this is something to do. It was fun and, I got better very quickly from the day I would join a band and then kind of take over, which sometimes was a problem. But, I was the strongest writer and the audience would react best to what I was writing. So the band had jealousy issues, but you can't deny it. The writing's better. I've worked with better writers than me. And you go, Bill, that's great. It's for the project. But anyways, at that point, I figured I better find something to do in this. I figured I would land in some big band, get a record deal, make $1 million, and then I didn't really think beyond that. But the record deal thing happened once with my ex-wife, which was great. But that part never got big.
And if it would have, then life would have been different for you, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I missed being in. I was in this band with E.G. Daly, who was Pee Wee Herman's girlfriend in Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and she's the voice of Chucky on Rugrats.
Yeah.
Has been for like however
Forever.
long they've been doing that show, 70 years.
Seems like it. I grew up on it with that show.
And the drummer in our band was Matt Sorum, who went on to Guns N' Roses. And I was driving down Sunset Boulevard in my Honda, and I look over, and there's this gorgeous black Porsche. I'm like, fuck, that's Matt. I like wave him down. We pull over, and he goes, dude, 2 weeks earlier, I could have got you in on the Guns gig. They needed a keyboard player. It was $25,000 a week. And I went, and I'm living on credit cards still. I'm like,
yeah.
But, had that happened, I might be dead or be just a disaster in life because, I mean, look at those guys. I mean, it kind of screwed their lives up.
Yeah, nobody should have to perform after 65 or 70. I mean, I'm sorry. Even if you're really good, I mean, you should have enough money to where your time, I'm not saying that, I want to say goodbye to all the old legends and everything. If you want to perform once in a while here, make an appearance here and there, like once a year or twice a year, okay, but not to be touring. There's no reason why Mick Jagger should be touring right now.
I think he'll die if he has to stop. I think he'll drop dead.
Same with Willie Nelson. I mean, I'm sure you're probably right about that too. It'd probably be the same thing.
But some should stop. Like Paul McCartney needs to stop. He just doesn't sound good anymore.
I don't know if it's just an ego thing or something, or it can't be just about the money anymore, because I think it's more just, maybe he's worried. Maybe he's like thinks that he won't be irrelevant anymore, but he'll be irrelevant for the rest of mankind.
Yeah. But people like that too. I mean, it's kind of to a way lesser degree. I'm that way. It's without doing that, you haven't really done anything else your whole life. You can't really just stop doing it and work on a garden. You drop dead,
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, back in the day, like when people were performing like rock and roll and country and stuff, it's like some of those people knew when it was time to do other things, and they made time to do other things. Now, I'm not saying that should be for everybody, but just like, if you know that you're you don't want to overstep your bounds, and you know that you've done what you're happy with what the legacy you've left in your life,
Sure.
And I'm sure the same with you too. Like if somebody said, "Hey, you don't have to work anymore," do you think you still would, or would you still find something to do?
I still would. Because I just love it. Even when it's, as we were discussing earlier, though, these crazy hours, I love every second of it. What I don't like is the paperwork associated with it, because when you're doing a show, there's all these Excel sheets you need to do, and these Q sheets you need to do, and these registrations, and that is very boring.
So do you?
It's
Do
not.
you?
It's also
Yeah.
not like a ton of hours. It's like 2 hours per show of paperwork.
Other than working for the companies you work for, are you pretty much the guy in charge of the music, or is there somebody that you answer to that has to approve everything? Other
Well, you
than
always answer to the show creator, the show producers. Sometimes it's the director. It depends. In television, you're usually answering to the producers.
but
So in this case,
you're not working with anybody else to do the music though. You're doing it all yourself.
oh no, yeah, no, yeah, no, I haven't really. That's why I kind of learned to emulate and play everything. And when I've even been talking to people about projects and they say, yeah, we want to bring in some live musicians. I said, well, I understand if you want like acoustic guitar and stuff, real, that's all fine. But I'm not sitting around and working with a bunch. I can't get back into that because I'm sure it's better now, but back in the day, I had to learn how to do it on my own because they didn't show even paid gigs. I mean, I never listened to the tape. Show me what I'm supposed to do. Oh man, I have the worst hangover. Oh, dude, I'm going to be an hour and a half late. I mean, it's endless. And I have lots of people now are like, hey, if you ever need anything for television and sometimes for fun, not often, not even to mess with them, I'll say, hey, if you want to throw, I'm going to invent something. If you want to throw some drums on this, I need it done by 5, and it'll be like 3 p.m.
Uh-huh.
And the next day, it's like, dude, I didn't even see your email till today. I'm like, that's how this business. I mean, you got to like respond like that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even
Uh-huh.
why I'm doing this, in case I hear from any of the show people, not this right now, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm checking emails like every 20 minutes. I have alerts. Just they may need something. It's
So
always
you
going.
so you're like the guy whose cell phone goes off all the time. There's always somebody trying to get a hold of you for something.
Actually, I'm just clear text or email because my phone has been perpetually on do not disturb for about a year. Because it dings with shit, with
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. That's
magic,
a
magic, uh, magic potion to cure cancer. I've
yeah,
been
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a
Or,
phone number
or,
forever, so I
we
get
all
all the crap.
we unlocked a special game so you can play a level you can play on your Harry Potter puzzle
Yeah.
game or something. Oh, one second. I was getting a phone call already. Anyway, yeah, I just am honored to do this with you there, Ron, because I know some people also that are in the business that do scoring or that are in the music industry, we'll say, and there's a couple guys that I know that maybe you might know. Do you? Okay, so are you based like in Los Angeles? Or are you based like in?
No, I'm about 35 miles north of LA.
Oh, but you're still in California though.
Oh yeah. I'm
Okay,
I'm
okay, okay.
I'm like 30. I'm 25 minutes from I'm in Ventura County. I'm 25 minutes from the border of LA, and I can be anywhere down it. Well, depending on traffic, but
Sure, sure.
within a 45 minutes.
Okay, okay. So there's a guy that out in San Francisco, out in the Bay Area. You've heard of the Greg Kidd band before, right?
Yeah, sure.
Do you know Robert Berry at all?
No.
He has a studio out in San Francisco that's similar. Well, I mean he doesn't do it from his house, but like you do. But like he has like a big old studio that he works with a lot of different artists and composers and people. I think it's more based for more music based, though.
Yeah.
I think albums or whatever. But there's a guy that if I could ever connect you with anybody who I think that you should chat with or whatever. And I'm only doing this because he's a good friend of mine. Are you familiar with the are you a big horror fan at all for films?
No.
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
like drama and comedies now and documentaries galore.
Okay. Well, technically, he's done some documentaries and stuff like that. He's done a lot of independent stuff, whatever. His name is Lance Warlock, and he's based out of Everett, Washington. And he does scoring, kind of like how you do, kind of in a special way. Where he does like indie projects and stuff. His dad was Michael Myers in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. Dick Warlock, if that rings a bell. He used a body double for Kurt Russell back in the day.
It's really it's really like we are all locked in our studios working all the time. The only time you even have a chance to meet other composers are at award shows, and a majority of them, at those shows I've gone to, they think the world revolves around. I'm not saying this about the guys you mentioned,
Yeah.
but a majority of them, like I remember sitting at a table one night with guys who were doing The Bachelor, and you would think they thought they were the Beatles. I mean, and I'm like,
big egos, big egos.
Just like, if any of us dies at this table tonight, we're not even going to make it to the news. I mean, that's how much we mean.
Well, you might. I mean, as iconic as you are, I'm sure.
But the thing is, it's just my job.
Yeah, but you gotta see. That's the thing, though. There's a lot of people like myself who are envious of your job because you have a cool job, you have a fun job, you're making good money, and you're doing what you love because you're passionate about it and whatnot. You don't have to worry about side gigs or anything like that.
Right.
Or maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking too much or whatever. But it's just I would assume that you are doing very well for yourself. We'll just say,
Yeah, luckily, yes. I mean,
but no, I mean,
but the thing is, I understand that, but it's just what I do. I don't look at it as anything different. I don't know if that's ignorant or what. It's just a job.
Did you have the same feelings back in the day when you did a normal job? That it's just a job?
No, I fucking hated it.
See, and you love this, So there you go.
Well, but I never, I never would. I would, you're out there at 6 a.m. digging ditches for electrical conduit. You're like, this sucks. Nobody on earth goes, I love this. I love being out here. I love digging a ditch. I love when it rains, so my ditch fills in, so I have to redig the damn ditch, which happened to me. I love that I put the ditch in the wrong damn place, and I need to move my ditch, which happened to me because they marked it wrong. No.
See, that's what I mean. See, why I say I'm envious of you right now is because not only because of the life you live and whatever, but I have a 9-to-5 job because I don't get paid to do this stuff. I'm volunteering my time. For the last 20 years, I've been volunteering my time to do a podcast. I'm not like one of those celebrity YouTubers that you had or interviewed you before that have millions of subscribers so they can make a living off their YouTube and whatever. I actually believe it or not, I actually work at a casino. I'm a security guard. That's my paid gig.
You could point out the good machine for me. That one hasn't paid.
I would for you, man. I definitely would for you if you walk to the door. Now that I know what you look like, and
go to that bingo machine. Bingo machine right there.
I would say your better luck is on Keno. Any Keno machine. Don't play the slots. Play the Keno. That's more fun.
Oh, I don't really. Vegas wiped me out so many times that I just not for that much, but
yeah.
I know this director named Andy Kadoff, and when we were doing these sitcoms, sometimes well, frequently a group of us would go to Vegas, and he went once. And this is a guy who I think I was doing 5 sitcoms at the time. I think he was directing 2 at the time. So this is a guy that's making a nice 100,000 a week
Sure.
directing. And I said, well, do you gamble? And he goes, I don't care if I win $1. He goes, but if I lose $1, I get really, really pissed off at myself.
So it's kind of a
And
conservative guy, kind of like.
yeah, he just said, I don't like gambling just for that reason. He goes, it bothers me. He
Sure.
goes, so
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
that's just the philosophy. And he grew up really poor, and I grew up really poor. So I mean, I still have, it's like 68 degrees, when it's freezing outside, well, freezing for here. It's like 68 degrees is warm enough. I could turn it off and get another blanket on the bed. In my head, I will always be dead broke. It is just something you can't get away from when you've
Wow.
gone through, at one point, like in the 80s, I was stealing food because I had no money to eat, and I wasn't going to bother my parents, who also lived out in the San Fernando Valley. And lived I slept on a World War II Army cot in a place infested with fleas. I considered it all like it can only get better unless I get hit by a car. I mean, it can't get much worse than this.
So why were you guys poor then? What was going on? Just didn't have
Well, the
enough
family
money?
just didn't make anything. Luckily, my uncle, bought me my first piano when I was 6. And I only recently found out from my sister a few years ago, he actually sent our family like $25 a month for groceries.
And back then that was was
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, it's the equivalent to probably like 300 now.
Wow, jeez.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, I mean, we're talking the 60s. I mean, I remember the 4 of us would go out to whatever, Bob's Big Boy, if you've ever heard of Bob's Big Boy.
Yep, I have.
It would be like $4.75 for the 4 of us.
Jeez. And now,
I mean, things were just cheap.
Now it's like $4.95 just for curly fries or whatever.
And you were rich. I mean, we had a couple rich people in the family, and they were making like 40, 50 grand a year. Now I think you can make that on minimum wage.
Yeah, that's about close to what I make about a year, or probably about close to like 33,000 or whatever after taxes or before.
Yeah,
taxes.
well, the tax thing, hopefully that will, that'll change.
I hope so, because that's just, it's like that's the one thing. I mean, I'm sure with you, I'm sure even making the money that you make or whatever, taxes have to be a bitch sometimes too, I suppose. Huh?
Yeah, but it's not. I've always felt this. Believe me, I'm not endorsing anything or against anything. I'm just saying I've always felt there's a certain, especially if it's a family of 3 or 4, whatever. There's a certain amount in income. Like a family of 4, if they're making $70,000 a year, they shouldn't be paying any taxes.
Yeah.
Period. If you're single, maybe, I don't know, 35,000. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's pretty ridiculous.
There's no reason and I mean, I don't consider myself poor by any means because I don't live like I'm poor, even though technically in the eyes of the world I'm probably really poor or whatever because of the income I have. But it's like, yeah, I agree with that. It's like I believe that we should have to do something, but it's like don't take our hard-earned money. Everybody says you need a job to make money, right? So you can get on your own and live life on your own. Blah 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 blah. Well, then why is it okay for them to take money from us? I don't. If they take money from us, it's okay. But if we take money from them, oh my goodness, sir.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You want what back?
Yeah. Oh, that was going to take 6 months. Oh, you have to pay in this year. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's where I mean, my son's in college, and for him, he'll graduate in 2026 in June, and for him to even rent an apartment and pay his own bills, he'd have to make about $175,000 a year because he's not every apartment. And I'm outside of LA. Every decent apartment is going to be at least for a 1-bedroom, $3,700 to live in an
Oh,
apartment building.
oh, that almost gives you a heart attack. Just
So
because here in Minnesota, I pay $427 right now, and no utilities, no nothing. That's just one little bill. That's about it
yeah,
for a one bedroom.
it's out here. It's a whole different thing. But
Wow. Yeah.
that's the West Coast. That's how it is.
So
I mean,
so so how long was it for you to realize, or when did you realize that you're finally making it in the industry as
I
far as
think it was really after X-Men because all of a sudden, I had the beginning level of respect. Then it was just a matter of, honestly, I never really thought about, will it last a year? Will it last 5 years? Who knows? And then when I left Saban after 3 years, I had been there 6, but 3 years as a composer, and I jumped without a safety net, and that was pretty scary because I didn't leave that place with I just left that place with no debt. They wanted me to go in debt. They encouraged, yeah, you should go see my realtor, which I couldn't afford a house,
yeah,
and you should go get a Mercedes, go do this, and run up debt so that you're a slave. And
sure.
I didn't. Instead, I only ever got one royalty check out of them for the rocket venture, and I
Oh,
took that and paid off all my credit card debt. The next day, I drove to every creditor and wrote a check. It sounds so antiquated now, but
well,
yeah, I did that. But I got out of debt, and I said I'm not going to go into debt again. And I jumped without a safety net, and then luckily I got hired to do games 2 weeks later, and that opened up working with other people, which opened up this, and went to that, and it was great.
so then other than Power Rangers and X-Men, like what are some other things that you've done that people might know?
Oh gosh.
I'll make a list.
Surprisingly, there's something called Mummies Alive I did maybe around 2000 that apparently was
Okay,
pretty big. The other Deke shows weren't. I know the games were big, even though the company went belly up after a few years. So I did like Ace Ventura, Monty Python games, Tamagotchi,
okay.
something else. Spent 2 years working with this guy, John Anderson from Yes. That was great. Met a ton of rock stars through that guy. That was fun. And, uh, and then, uh, 300 commercials, which no one would probably remember, but they would come to me when the company wanted to rebrand themselves and get away from their old sound, their old style.
Sure.
And meanwhile, I was writing with my ex-wife, and we ended up being the first band signed off the internet. And we had a couple, like a year and a half great adventure with that. Although the record companies told me, they said, what do you think? Because Time Magazine's coming to me and CNN, how do you see the future? Because we got signed from that. I said, it's going to be singles. People are going to buy a single for 99 cents. Never even thought about streaming. And all the
Uh-huh.
record companies said, it'll never happen. We're never going to do that. We need to sell CDs. I said, then your shit's going to be pirated like crazy. It's
Yeah, just
done.
look at Spotify. I mean, I don't agree with how they take care of the artists and all that, because every artist should be paid for
Oh,
their
they're
stuff. But it's like,
ridiculous. It's a joke.
yeah,
Apple's good. Apple's very good.
do
But
you see royalties from all that for your
yeah,
music on there too? Everything
yeah.
okay.
Apple
So what?
is
So what's Spotify's deal then? Why are they allowed to get away with that?
for the same reason that big composers can take 99% of the writers or 98% writer's share from people working for them.
Uh huh. Okay.
Or in my case, it's about 100%.
But so okay, so they're allowed to do that, but
Yeah.
yet so okay, so why can't any company? Why can't they do like what Metallica did to Napster? Just have a whole bunch of bands and start suing the hell out of everybody until they get what they want. I mean, is it
Maybe
not
there's a
worth it
few.
anymore?
I'm sure Taylor Swift's deal at Spotify is probably very, very good.
Ah,
And I'm sure Metallica's deal is probably very, very good. And the Beatles deal, which they did with Apple, was probably exceptional. I mean,
because it
all
seemed like
right.
every time they got somebody's catalog, they always ran a nice promo for Spotify. I remember when AC/DC got their catalog on there. Holy crap, they had a nice promo and everything. So
Well,
it's
that's
like,
probably where a lot of the money's going. I mean, but who's ever going to know?
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the band's not going to say anything because then every other musician will go like, "Oh, see, sold out," you know, in
So
a
as
way. But
so
that's the way
so
it
as,
works. You have power, you make more. You don't, you don't.
so let me ask you this, then, since you say you don't get out much or whatever, do you
No,
do you collect? Are you a collector of physical media, whether it be CDs, vinyls,
no,
cassettes, movies, nothing?
nothing.
Wow. Well, what do you
Just,
what do you what what do you? Okay, so you just listen to it all digitally and stream and stuff, and that's about it.
yeah, at the moment, if I'm in the car, I'll say, "Hey," I don't want to say her name. I don't want her
Yeah.
to know we're talking here. Say, "Hey,
yeah,
hey, SIRI,
yeah,
play, Shostakovich or Metallica live or whatever." That's the move. When I'm at home, I am always working, so I don't listen to a thing.
Oh, okay. Other than your own compositions or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, when you're sitting and writing music, I mean, it'd be like somebody talking in your ear while you're doing this right now. You can't have it. You have to
But
focus on what you're doing.
I mean, you got to have inspiration from somebody, like anybody that inspired you to want to do this, your heroes
Oh,
or anything like that, to do
oh
this for a
yeah.
living.
I mean, uh, but not in back then, not in film scoring. I never really thought about television scoring. I was the general public with that stuff. There was things I liked, but I grew up listening to a lot of George Gershwin and Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath and Beethoven, and I mean it was completely diverse. And I had a shortwave radio, so I could pick up stations down in Mexico and South America and listen to a lot of Brazilian stuff. And it's just
Wow.
it runs the gamut. The only thing I don't care for is country music for about the last 25 years because it's the same exact format. It's less diverse than rap. Now, rap,
uh,
they all have the same like slow beats now,
uh,
but at least lyrically, it's not the same fucking song over
uh,
and over. And I've never liked opera, especially female soprano. To
okay.
me, it just reminds me of a dentist drill. It makes my head literally vibrate. I don't care for it. Not dissing it, just
Yeah.
not for me.
Well, that's all right. When you talk about country music, they it has changed a little bit, like mostly for the worse because there's a lot more
Yeah.
country art. Well, and I don't say that to be mean, but just like when you consider Beyonce country now, it's like she's not country, and yet she's getting a Grammy for being a country artist. It's like what?
Yeah, I
I mean,
haven't heard it, but
yeah.
and fortunately, I don't need to, unless somebody brings up and goes, "We want a country song like Beyonce."
Yeah. But I mean, like you talk about like Pink Floyd and stuff, and I like the Moody Blues if I'm going to go to that type of
Yeah,
format because
beautiful.
those guys made their music into more of an art form, more than people realize, and got a lot of credit for it, but I don't think they got enough credit, for what
Now they
they've
were
done
beaten out by
musically.
the other artsy bands like Pink Floyd that just outsold them 100 to 1. So the credit goes to them. But yeah, and then I remember, as I've said in interviews for a million years, when Kurt Cobain shot himself
Uh huh.
that day, he was the last rock star.
Oh, okay. So you were a
I
big
mean, there's
Nirvana fan
been
then?
bands,
Yeah.
but nothing like Nirvana. And there's certainly much bigger acts now, but they have 100 dancers and they're singing the tracks, and it's not about the music. It's the show. It's like news became a show. They don't even call it news anymore. They're like, welcome to the show, all of them.
Yeah.
Everything's now a presentation, a show, everything.
I would think too that if you're going to go that route with music, that you would also consider anything Phil Collins and Genesis
Oh,
because
I was a
they're
Genesis nut. I used to play almost everything they could. I couldn't quite play like Tony Banks, but
uh,
I was so close at times. He's lightning fast. I never have been lightning.
So when you do your compositions and whatnot, I mean, like what type of instruments? I mean, you kind of said a little bit about what you work with, but like, how do you like what instruments help you make the sounds you're looking for?
Well, I only play piano. So, I mean, I used to play drums.
Uh huh.
Can't play a note of guitar. But I mean, the show I'm doing now has a lead like old 60-ish style surf guitar, but not that surfy with some of those crunchy chords in them.
Uh huh.
And I'm doing it all on that rig right behind me.
Okay.
It works out
So
beautifully. I
that's
set it up.
so that's the source of kind of where all the magic
Yeah.
really happens. Okay.
Yeah. And
Is that the MIDI thing that you're talking about, or that's something else?
yeah, the keyboard back there, it
Okay, I
sends out
understand.
MIDI data over USB.
Oh, okay.
And then I have
See, I thought that was a mixer at first. So it looked more like a mixer than a keyboard.
no, this is just the full thing, and I don't have it up now, but I'm scoring this episode of the Thundermans, and I can
Okay.
trigger anything in the world. So if I need action, I can do a full orchestra that sounds authentic, or I can do the band stuff. I blend, my drum sounds till I get just the punch I like. I have my favorite basses, and I just go through. Usually start with the melody because I'm the melody guy,
Uh huh.
and then just build the track around it, do a 2-track mix of it, move on to the next marker I put in when I spotted the show, do what's necessary there, and it can run the gamut. Sometimes it's, old video game music for a scene that will then go into action that then needs to sound, orchestral for a bit, and then back to the rock sort of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that sounds like a lot of fun, man. I tell you, it sounds like you got the best job, no matter if it's a lot or whatever. It's like there can never be enough. I would say.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm holding off on other stuff, because I'm just too busy. So it keeps coming in, and it's because I love it, and it's because if there's somebody, couple animators, they've come up with this short they're doing, and they're professional animators, and it is their storyline, at which I can't discuss. The concept and the animation and the story is so perfectly done. And there's a case where I said, "Oh, I'll just score it for you." And they
Oh,
were shocked. They go, "How much?" I said, "No, no, 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 no. I'm just gonna get involved with you guys. I mean, because I think this story, I think they can easily sell this.
oh,
It's
absolutely.
simple and completely original."
Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to let me interview you, and thanks to Jacob as well for putting
Yeah,
this
thanks,
together.
Jacob.
Yeah, because I mean that guy deserves so much credit. But you alone, Ron. I mean, this has been a great hour to speak with you, and I've learned a lot. And
Thanks.
for anybody that wants to know more about you or wants to learn more about what you do, how can they do so?
Uh, uh, Really, you can go to. It's not even. It's stupid to even go to my website anymore. Just Google the name Ron Wasserman, Wasserman, and I'm not the Ron Wasserman that plays with the New York Symphony that plays bass. I mean, he's great, and we know each other, ironically, and we're not
Uh,
related. But I'm the other one, and there's just info out there. It's insane.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron, for taking the time to let me interview you.
Thank
And
you very
this
much.
this has been a lot of fun. I hope it was fun for you too.
Oh, it was. It was great.
All right. Well, we'll see you again, my friend.
All right,
Thanks.
man. Take care.
And that was Ron Wasserman. And thanks again to Jacob Marshall for helping put this interview together. I'm Frankie SLAWSON, and we'll see you next time for another great uh, episode of Renegade Radio. We're coming up with another one soon.
Are you still putting off that project around the house that's been bugging you forever? Do you think you can wait until spring and call a contractor and have the work done ASAP? Well, good luck with that. Executive Properties has openings right now to get that project done. In fact, you can check out their Google reviews. Diane says Executive Properties did a roof project and remodeled a bathroom in our house. We were happy with their quality of work, and the projects were completed in a timely manner. We will use Executive Properties for our next home project. Get that project done sooner than later. Call Executive Properties, 701-330-1273.
Renegade Radio, tune in, don't be shy. With Frankie SLAWSON leading the ride. Monday nights, the airwaves come alive. With voices in the dark, like shadows they survive. Join the rendezvous, let the stories weave. Frankie leads the night, you just gotta believe.
Are you still putting off that project around the house that's been bugging you forever? Do you think you can wait until spring and call a contractor and have the work done ASAP? Well, good luck with that. Executive Properties has openings right now to get that project done. In fact, you can check out their Google reviews. Diane says Executive Properties did a roof project and remodeled a bathroom in our house. We were happy with their quality of work, and the projects were completed in a timely manner. We will use Executive Properties for our next home project. Get that project done sooner than later. Call Executive Properties, 701-330-1273.
Under starlit nights so grand, where the wolves' howls resound, I find my peace and stand on this hallowed ground. Hear the coyote's mournful serenade, a song of wild untamed. In the heart of the Black Hills, where my spirit's flame is claimed. Ride the trails of ancient past, where secrets still reside. I ride these trails alone through fields of amber waves. Tales of Lakota's pride and gold rush dreams that stay. Their echoes in the canyon walls where their legacy is laid. Oh, Black Hills, my sanctuary, where the freedom flows in your endless prairies. In the twilight of the forest, where the shadows softly fall, I can hear the whispers of the mountains standing tall. From the badlands to the pine trees, every rock and stream tells a story of dusk and dawn, through the rolling plains. Feel the heartbeat of this land in the hills' veins. Riding through the valleys where the Mustangs run wild. You can feel the power like a tempest outside. Oh, Black Hills, you're my heart's desire, with your rugged peaks and your canyon choir.
Renegade Radio, tune in, don't be shy. With Frankie SLAWSON leading the ride. Monday nights, the airwaves come alive. With voices in the dark, like shadows they survive. Join the rendezvous, let the stories weave. Frankie leads the night, you just gotta believe.
And here we are. What's going on? How you doing?
All good, man. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing really well this fine Monday afternoon, and I'm very excited to do this interview with you. And I can tell that you were pretty excited too.
Oh yeah, man. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, you know, the one man we have to thank for this is the almighty Mark Pucci, because I tell you, he's the guy that got me. Well, he sent me your CD first of all.
Yeah.
And then I listened to it, and I saw how much I liked it, and he said, "Well, why don't we try to do an interview with Max?" Because he's kind of hooked me up with some other artists as well, but he said, let's do Max first. I said, you know what, that sounds like a good idea, you know, because it seems like you this is a brand new album that you just made called Nothing But the Truth, and all we want to do is speak the truth today. So, you know, it's good to have you on, Max. I'm very excited.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So for somebody, because I kind of read a biography that somebody wrote about you or on your page here a couple days ago, and it sounds like you've been in the industry for a little while, but it took a little while to get yourself a debut album or a solo album.
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, I'm not gonna go through the whole story, but you know, just you know, playing harmonica. So I was always kind of in the background, you know, backing up other people. And, you know, of course, I was with Mac Arnold. You know, we've been together for over 20 years now. And, you know, and just kind of, let Mac do his thing. I mean, he played with Muddy Water, Johnny Hooker, and so people like me and Austin, we kind of stayed in the background and let Mac do his thing. And then, but, you know, over the years, you just kind of, you know, you songs start to pile up, and I got a lot of original stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to put this stuff together, get it out there.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, so basically, you've been in the industry for a very long time, and it just what it sounds like, it's just you're waiting for your moment to finally say, you know what, it's time for me to see what I can do.
Yeah, well, I've always kind of did my own thing, you know, on the side, but as far as like going on tours and going to Europe and Canada and doing all that was, of course, with Mac. And you know, we would get up and we would usually either kick the show off or do a few in the middle. And so we got to play and do our thing too. But this is definitely just kind of, you know, all me doing what I do.
Oh, it definitely, you know, the one thing I always, you know, when it comes to albums, and it's been a while since I've, you know, had a CD in my hand, because mostly everything I do now is all digital stuff and everything, because although I am for the physical, you know, I do believe you should still have a physical collection regardless. But this is the first time in a while that I've actually held a CD in my hand, other than, you know, when it was to me in the mail. I always judge an album before I listen to it by the cover. And I feel like if it has a good cover, if it has a good cover, then it's going to mean something. Now, obviously, I can be wrong too. Sometimes they can have a fucked up cover or no cover and still be great.
Yeah.
But I feel the way that you presented yourself in the cover gives this album already a good rating. You know, without even listening to it. I never listened to it before. I would have said, you know what? It looks like this guy is serious about what he's doing. Because I mean, look at it. I mean, well, I mean, you look serious. You look like we're ready to go. The world. This is what I'm about, and you're gonna love what you hear. Because I love what I heard. I listened to it. It was, I mean, the first song was just like it took me back to a time when music was just simple. When it wasn't so complicated. Yeah,
it shouldn't be. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, what was the inspiration for the cover? Why did you go with the cover?
Well, we've been recording there, and outside of the studio, there was these two abandoned cars. That we go on the porch and take a break, or when we'd finish a session, we might have a beer or something. And we're sitting here looking at these two abandoned cars, and I was like, John, I said, how long have they been there? He said, as long as I've been here. So, I think James or somebody said, hey man, that'd be a cool, album cover. And we were just joking about it, And so on the last day, we were getting ready to leave, and it's just, we had a long ride. It was about a 9-hour drive, so we didn't have much time. And anyway, James had tried to line up a photographer where I could do some, little photo shoot with the guys or whatever there in New Orleans, but he couldn't make it. So just kind of last minute, literally, I just what I had on, and I had that hat I got it at a Goodwill store. So it's like and he's like, it's a cool hat, man. He said, throw that on, because we tried some different things, and he got some shots over there at that old car, and that was it. It was just it was like the whole album. Everything was kind of spur of the moment, and you never knew what was going to happen. It just kind of happened.
So you said you had other alternative ideas or alternative photos. I'm surprised you didn't decide to put a whole bunch, like a little collab or something, inside the disc or whatever. Yeah,
well, we were going to do that, and then it kind of started to get real cluttered, and I think, and that was, and I didn't really, and then so we just kind of went a little more simple, with the that picture on the inside that you see, that's John's control booth, whatever. That's where all the magic happens, So we took a picture of that, and then that other picture was me. Sometimes I'll play through a glass, or or something. If I got a beer or something, I may finish the beer off and just play into the the beer mug or whatever. And I don't know. That was just a picture that was captured in Europe.
Okay.
On the other side, yeah.
So, Big John Atkinson, I've heard of him. I think he and I were, I don't know if we're still friends on Facebook or not, but I know I've chatted with him before about possibly doing an interview or something, and never got around to it because he just got so busy. How is he to work with? I mean, like, for somebody to help you put this together?
Man, it was so laid back. It was like zero stress. It's like that's the number one rule, is that you walk in, there's no stress. It's so much. It was so different than most studios. Most studios you go into, it's there's carpet and padding, and there's separation and booths and all this stuff. And so to me, and I don't think I really realized until I got into that in there with John, is that it's almost like when you start throwing click tracks on it, and you start throwing in the separation, you got the vocals in a booth somewhere, and the drums surrounded by, some big see-through plastic shield, and I don't know. It's just, and then you hit record, and then you're doing it. To me, it's like you're just ripping the soul right out of every song. Uh-huh. Because think about it. If you're doing vocals and you're in a booth, and then you can go back and read, and you're just laying down a dummy track, and then you're going to come back and redo it again. I mean, it's just not. It's not. I mean, why do people go? To me, all my favorite albums were of course, the old Muddy stuff, the old Chess stuff. If it was recorded live in the studio, even the band Free, I love some of their stuff. Their early, their first album, that was rock and roll, but it was done live in the studio. And to me, that's where it's at. It's like going to a ball game. Who would want to go to a ball game where everything was staged and oh no, that wasn't a good play. Let's do that one over again. No. So
yeah. Well, what I mean is like because of how old school all the equipment that he has. I mean, did it feel like you were like stepping back in time when you first entered the studio?
Oh, it's like being in a museum. When you walk in there, it's just like a museum. He's got the old upright piano, the old RCA mic, and see, he knows how to work on this stuff. So John will get this stuff, and then he'll fix it and make sure it's right. And he understands it so well. I mean, James Harmon's recorded with him, and Kim Wilson, I think, has done several albums at the studio, and he's just it's just amazing. And the cool thing about John is because sometimes you got to be careful, because if you're not careful, you'll want, oh man, I need to fix that. I need to do that. There's one part, like there was a vocal part. I was like, man, that didn't sound too good. He said, leave it. It's fine. He just, there was no overdub. We wasn't overdubbing the vocals or redoing that or fixing the bass line or, copy and pasting it. It was none of that. It was pretty raw and organic. And that's just the way. That's the way John pretty much does it. I think if you don't want that, then you got to go somewhere else.
So let me ask you this question then: from the time that you kind of thought of the songs and whatnot, or maybe from however you recorded the song or wrote the songs, is the vision of what you wanted, what you got? I mean, as far as like what you were hoping for.
Well, it's even better, and it was one of those things where I had played these songs out a few times with different people. I wanted to go in there with like a stand-up bass and a jazz drummer. I was taking that direction at first, and then I had this gig that I totally had forgot about, and I had nobody to play with. So I called up Fleetwood, the bass player, and Brandon Phelps, kind of last minute. And I threw these songs at him, and I was like, man, that really felt good. That was a different, it had more of a groove. It was a little more funky. And I said, this is where this feels good, And so we started rehearsing and piecing this thing together. We played out with a few people, and you play them. You go out and you test drive them. You see how they, and I had some different people that would play with us, but so I had all these ideas, but when I got to New Orleans and we started bringing in, James Beaumont and all the horns and the piano and working with those guys, especially James, it was just like, I'm not even sure how to explain it. In other words, so I had a roadmap of what I was going to do. We had the arrangements down. We had, the lyrics. I wasn't reading off. We knew the songs, me and Fleetwood and Brandon. But when we got James in the mix, he brought that New Orleans thing to it. And so things started to change, That wasn't because I didn't say, hey man, don't do this, don't do that. It just started taking its own shape. And then when John picked up the guitar, started adding, a lot of this stuff was kind of on the fly, and it was just kind of coming together. And I wasn't about to mess with it, because I think the worst thing I could have done is say, no, don't do that. Don't do it that way. We just let it go. And that's what happened.
Oh, no, that's interesting, because I always wonder, like, what people think about, if they have lots of plans of how they want their album to sound ahead of time, or they just go with the flow. And I figure a guy like you, especially if this is your debut album, that you have the vision that you want, and you would like it to be almost 100% accurate, if not all accurate. But sometimes people surprise you with the way things can be sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was some of it was a learning, because a lot of the albums I've done in the past, with Mac and some different people, they were pretty much, okay, we rehearse it and this is the way it's going to happen. But to me, part of the magic was just letting it happen. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of things like, we were starting a song, and then James would be like, hold on a minute. And then he would start kind of walking around and making these noises with his mouth. He said, hey, let's try this on the beginning, I was like, hell yeah. And then bam, we cut it. It's like that was, so, yeah, man, it's going to be hard. I don't know. After this experience with John and those guys in New Orleans, it'll be hard to go back to I don't know how to put it, like a can studio approach. I don't know if I can do that.
Sure. So, well, now that we've talked about the album and whatnot, let's learn more about you. I mean, as far as like, why music? Why was that your calling? Why do you feel that's the best career choice for you?
Oh man, it's great. Well, I don't even know where to start with that career choice. It's like, I tell you what, I will tell you this. Once you know at an early age, okay, man, I love doing this. This is something I want to pursue. You don't know why or how you're going to get there, or even where the hell you're going. You just know it's what you need. Your heart, whatever is telling you to do, and you just keep going and going. And sometimes you kind of get blinded by you're so, it's like tunnel vision. That's all you see. You just want to play and get better and better and better. And you listen to music, and it's this thing. It's like I don't know. It's like some people take drugs, and I might drink a beer or something. But when I started playing, I really just kind of fell in love with it. But the thing is once you most people get out of high school, get a job, and then they just coast on that security. And I'm gonna tell you, when you quit your job and you go full-time music, it's like a roller coaster to hell or something. It's just 1 minute you got a pocket full of money and good times, and the next minute you're broke as hell trying to figure out how you're gonna pay your lights. It's been a ride, man, and I'm not trying to be funny enough, but it's real. I mean, you grow up a lot, and a lot of people. They, a lot of women, a lot of people go through divorces. They don't see their kids. There's a lot of but you keep doing it, and somehow if you're lucky, you find that balance, with family and music and, marriage or a girlfriend or whatever. Because it's crazy. Sometimes you sit back and you think, man, why the hell am I doing this? But you keep doing it.
So is that kind of what you kind of went through? I mean, you had a relationship, or you have a family that try to take care of?
I don't know. It was. I've been through a lot of crazy stuff like that. It's definitely been a ride. I'm good. I'm good now. The girl I'm with, Pam, we've been together a long time, and I love her. She's awesome. She's kind of keeps me solid, puts me in my place, and she actually is the one that did the cover. So it's good to have somebody strong. That'll jerk a knot in your ass when you need it, especially doing this business.
So you got any kids that are following in your footsteps at all, or anything, or?
I got 3 kids, and I think they probably got so tired of listening to me, because it was always, when they were younger. I mean, the whole house was full of there was horns and a upright piano and guitars laying everywhere and amplifiers tore apart, and you were stepping over stuff like that, and they were just around it all the time. The only one that really took to it was my daughter, and she started playing some bass, and she was, I think she could have really done something. She may get back to it. She was really good at drawing. She would sit in her room and just draw, and it would be like literally hundreds and hundreds of paper just all over the room of drawing. She just sat there and draw and draw and draw. So I just kind of let her do her thing and be creative. And I don't know, she really loves music. I mean, she actually turns me on to a lot of music that I never even that I've never heard before. You still there, Frank?
Oh. I had a connection issue. I apologize.
That's all right.
I said the stream still continued though even afterwards, so it's all good here. Looks like.
Okay.
We're talking about your kids now. You said you had 3 kids.
Yeah, I don't know where you lost me at, but yeah, I got 3 kids, and like I said, I think they just kind of like I said, there was always music going on, or guitars and stuff laying around, the piano, and I was always messing around with songs or writing, and And the only one that took to it was my daughter, and she was just real creative. She was a great artist. She could draw, and she did start playing some stand-up bass and a little bit. I don't know. She may, and I don't know. I think she could sing, but she don't sing in front of me. But she's older now, and so I don't know. I do know that she turns me on. She listens to music so much that she turns me on to some people that maybe I'd never even heard of, And there's so many artists out there. I mean, I've watched some of your show, and it's there's so many musicians and great artists out there that are coming up, and podcasts like what you have. I mean, it gives them a voice, a way to get out there. It's awesome.
One thing I can definitely say about the show that we do, at least here in we're based out of northern Minnesota, but it's I've been doing this for about a year and a half, but also I've always had a love for broadcasting for quite a long time, since like 2002. Radio, growing up, listening to radio and everything was always something I always did with my dad, and I never thought I'd ever want to be a broadcaster, but back in the day, I don't know if this was like how it was for you in school, but as you got like to 7th or 8th grade, they were trying to push you on what you should be when you grow up.
Yep.
When you still are in high school, when you're not even ready for the real world yet, they push you and say, "Oh, you got to think about your future and everything." Well, I don't know what my future's going to be. I'll figure it out when I'm able to figure it out, and then eventually, as time moved forward, I figured it out. But it's been, you talk about music and your career being a hard journey and everything like that, man. I tell you, this whole journey of trying to be a podcaster has been a whirlwind of failure after failure after failure. But then nobody's interested in you, and then all of a sudden now people are interested because you're doing a show that's different than what you've ever done before. Yeah.
Well, not to flip the reverse thing, but like, when did you get into the whole radio thing?
When I was a senior in high school, I got to do a tour of the local college. Now, I always knew that the local college that was I lived in a town about 40 miles from where I grew up. I always knew there was a college there, but I didn't know there was a radio station there, because sometimes people, are lucky, and in your school you will have a radio station that you can learn from and do stuff on. I know there are some schools that do that, but my school never did that. So when I found out that they had a radio station at the college, I was just like, man, I was blown away. I said, I could probably do this. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, I could do this. I didn't even tour the whole place before I stepped right foot, kind of like how you stepped foot in John's studio, and probably didn't know what to expect from that, before you knew who the guy was or whatever. And yet, once I walked in the building, I said, you know what? I can do this. I don't even know what's even there. I don't know who's there. I don't care. I can do this. And so I decided that after graduation, and maybe I jumped the gun a little too far because I didn't finish. Because the problem was they wanted you to have other classes, because they didn't just want to teach you about the radio. They want you to be a salesperson. And I had no interest to be a salesperson. I want to be like Wolfman Jack or Alan
That's right.
Dick Clark, or some of the legends. Become a legend myself. One day or whatever. I didn't want to be a salesman, even though I learned later that radio is pretty much selling yourself. I mean, I'm constantly promoting things and whatever. So I figured, since I can't really, I can sing a little bit. I do like music and everything, but since I can't really perform an instrument or whatever, I figured the best way to still get in the business, the easiest way possible, is using my voice and learning how to do radio. So while I didn't do so well there, about a year and a half later, they offered a volunteer program, and I decided to participate in that. And that's where I learned everything I could possibly learn by so many different people. More or less a free education, I would say. And then when somebody was doing interviews, I was like, how the hell do you do that? How do you get guests on your show where all of us are just doing music shows and stuff? We're just doing a normal song shows and whatever. How do you get guests? And he told me how, and ever since 2006, I've been I've done about 700 by myself, with a little help here and there, but I've never been paid to do it. This has always been a volunteer thing. Could never seem to find a job in radio. I worked in television for a little bit in South Dakota, but as far as radio, nobody would ever give me a job, at least a job that I wanted. They thought I was an amateur. And so my whole idea of why we even have this show in the first place was to give a personal middle finger to all those people back in the day that told me that I could never do anything, that I could never hang with this sort of crowd. Because I had special ed and I was born with cleft palate and stuff, and didn't learn how to talk till I was like 4 years old. So it's like, you talk about struggling and stuff like that, man, life was a fucking struggle for me too, I tell you. But we made it though.
It's great. Let me look at you now. I mean, it's and the thing is that, to me, it's I don't even know what to call it here. It's even like with what I'm doing, and it all works together. The radio stations, the podcast, the Mojo Records, and Deborah and all them, and then you got Michelle Castilla, with the Mac Promotions, doing the radio stuff, and then you got Mark Cookie. So everybody, and then you got the blues societies. You got blues societies, the Blues Foundation, and then you got the festivals. It's just this. Everybody, that's how it works. But you got to get everybody involved.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're right. Because see, if you watch the show, you'll know that I have a big crew, and there's a reason for that. It wasn't because I couldn't do stuff by myself. Because obviously I could do stuff by myself. I was just tired of doing stuff by myself. Because for the longest time, I always felt like I was an outsider, kind of black sheep, that nobody understood what my intentions were, because a lot of people around my area like to judge you based on your past, based on things you've done in the past. I am not like how I was in my past. I'm actually, if anything, I've become a better person. I was not wanted by the law or anything like that. Just, in a small town, people judge you by your last name, and if you're not involved with anything, you don't fit in, and blah 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 blah. So I always felt like I was just kind of an outsider and everything. And even doing this interview stuff was kind of, even when it wasn't tough, it felt like it was tough because I could never get a break. Now I got a break by doing interviews with some of the biggest names in the entertainment world and some of the smallest too, and everybody in between. And then when it started to work, then I felt like, I got something here. But I just don't know how to market myself. That's the only problem. I don't know how to make money doing this because everybody seems like the people that you see on YouTube or whatever that never went to broadcasting school but have a nice studio and everything and seem like they know what they're doing, making good money and everything. That's how they make a living. I work at a casino. I'm a security guard, at a casino. That's my job. That's what pays me. So I can do things like this or whatever. This don't pay me. But I know there's a way that it has to be a way that can be, but I just don't know how to market myself. So maybe I'm not doing something right or something, but.
Well, hey, Mark Pookie, talk to him.
He's more for blues artists, and I'm not a blues artist. I'm just somebody that's a promoter, kind of trying to be kind of a promoter, kind of, but for the podcast format. So because you interview all kind of people, not just musicians, right? Yeah, oh yeah. It's been started off with Greg the Hammer Valentine. That was my very first interview back in 2006, and then Ned Beatty lived around my area as well. Before he passed away, and it's just it's been a fun ride, and I don't plan on quitting anytime soon. I'm only 41 years old, so I feel I have a long journey ahead of me. But I've had and I don't mean to give myself a big head or anything or whatever. But the thing is, like when people see me, they look at me like a normal person. The ones that don't know much about me, but the ones that do know about me know that I know a lot of people in the industry. It's just that the people are far away. They don't live in Minnesota. But I'm sure if they did, or if I was closer, I would probably be working with somebody, to be something they could give me to do, But this is what I do. This is kind of how it's been. And the reason why I have the people on the crew is because all those people are friends of mine, and they're from all over, not just from Minnesota. They've all done something with entertainment, whether it be radio or doing a tribute or whatever. I have a guy named John Lutz who was my co-host who did a Screamin' Sam, or he's like, we call him Screamin' Sam. But he did a Sam Kinison tribute because the guy looked like Sam Kinison. Like 25 years ago, he put on a beret on his head and everybody thought he was Sam Kinison. They didn't realize he was been dead since like 92. But yeah, so it's crazy the people that you meet thanks to the internet, and I have that to thank because if it wasn't for social media and all that, I don't know where I would be. we wouldn't be doing this interview today. I can probably guarantee you that if it wasn't for social media. So I have that to thank. But no, man, and it wasn't just because of your album that I wanted to chat with you. I feel like just because of your vibe and just because of the way the presence that you give yourself with your music and everything, and your story is so. Yeah, I feel like your story needs to be told. That's another thing about the show that's kind of neat about it. It's like we care about the underdogs. We don't just care about if you're an A-list star or B-list star or whatever. We care about the underdogs because that's what we are. We're underdogs. Yep. That's what I should have probably called the show, the Underdog Show. But I call it Renegade Radio because I figured, how many people want to rebel against the system so much and be renegade. So there you go. And then find out there's a lot of different Renegade radios, so that's the only reason why I put my name on the title. I'm not somebody who has a big head about anything or whatnot, but I figure people would kind of find it, so that's the only way so we can find it. So no, I'm honored to have you on the show and everything. It's you seem like a fun person. Have you always been kind of a fun person, kind of with your career, or you just kind of have your moments or whatever?
No, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I've always enjoyed playing, and with this particular album, I've written, some of the tear jerkers or the ones that make you want to get drunk and go pass out in the corner somewhere. I've written stuff like that. But this thing, man, when I started, I think the first song that led up to other songs was probably "It's On Me," and if you listen to it, everything's kind of exaggerated. It's kind of blowy, like a flying. I'll fly you to Paris in a hot tub with wings, build you a castle, and I'll be your king. So and a lot of that came from the title. If you listen to the title, I just took that from the song that I Ain't Lying. And what it was, I had an uncle that he would always say, "I ain't lying," and he would just to paint a picture, man. He would have like cowboy snakeskin boots on, some blue jeans, a leather Harley coat, and about 20 gold chains around his neck, and rings on every fingernail, fingers, and then he'd have like an old John Deere hat, and he'd be chewing on a cigar. It never was lit, and he was but he was just such a character, and he would say things. Everything he said was just exaggerated, just over the top. And he would always say something. He'd say, "I ain't lying." And when he said it, he was always lying. So I kind of, for the whole album, I kind of went that. I took everything and just, blew it up. I mean, even if you listen to the song "Here She Comes," if you listen to that vibe, the way it's laid out, I just, it's just kind of out there,
What I find funny is you have some really strange names for some songs. You got Double Bubble. You got Twitchy Witcha. You got Sweet Gum Tree.
Yeah.
You got Thick Jello.
Yep.
Snugglebug and Ass Morograph. What the hell? Different.
Yeah.
Learned that now that I've just looked at it because I didn't really think about it prior to looking at the CD when I was listening to the songs. I just turned the songs on and was like, everything just rocks and rolls, but I didn't really think about the names of the songs until I looked at it. So,
yeah,
reason why those songs are as weird named as they are? Or?
I mean, like you take Double Bubble. I mean, I won't go through the whole thing, but I come from a family of like mechanics and stuff, so I worked on heavy equipment and stuff when I was younger. And if you ever seen a tractor trailer pulling two trailers at one time, you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, well, I see that all the time.
They call that pulling doubles, right? And so I won't go into a bunch of details, but basically, if you see a girl with maybe a little more on the backside, call it pulling double bubbles. You see, so I don't know. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. I don't know, but if you listen to it, if you listen to the lyrics, it's again, it's a fun song, and it's like she, her hips give like a leaf spring, like and stuff like that. It's just so you just have to listen to the lyrics.
So it has nothing to do with the bubble gum at all. That's what I was thinking. double bubble.
Yeah, no. It's really talked about. She needs a CDL because she's pulling double bubbles, big booty tipping the scale. That's the lyrics.
It's about ladies with big asses, pretty much. So
yeah, pretty much. But and again, I'm not trying to. It was all out of fun. It was not. There's nothing dirty in it or anything like that. It's just the fun. I mean, think about it. You look at there's been a lot of songs written about that. What? So.
Oh. Well, it's different than a song about drinking and everything. At least it's something different.
Yeah, it's and then just like you take thick Jello. I mean, I wasn't even sure if I was going to record that one. But you think about Howlin' Wolf. I don't know if you know who that is, but he had a song that talks about "Shake It For Me, Baby," and he talks about it shaking like Jello. It's I ain't the first to do that, but that particular song really has nothing. The whole song is about Jello. It really is. It just reminds. If you listen to it, it says it gets me thinking about my baby. It just gets me thinking about it. But I actually sat down and studied Jello, how it was made up, and the molecules and the structure and all this stuff. It was insane, man. The first time that I played that out with the guys, we were at this little kind of a college club or something, and we played. It's been a while back, but we started playing it. And when I got into the lyrics, the drummer at the time, Dizzy, he just fell on top of the drums. He dropped his sticks and just laid on top of the drums and started laughing. And so I don't know. And then the bass player did the same. We couldn't even get through the song, man. We just sat there and we had to take a break. We just laughed, and it was and that's what I wanted. That's the whole point. The whole album is I wanted it to be fun, and for change.
now with this new album and with this being your debut album, I imagine you're going on tour, or are you on tour, or are you planning a tour?
Well, it's one of those things. I mean, I've been with Mac for a while, so I mean, we have our shows coming up with him, and then now that this thing is in motion, I got people wanting me to play other places, and got one festival interested in Europe, no, Scandinavia or somewhere. I don't know. It's just stuff is starting to come in now, and so it takes. And plus, we've been touring a while, and I know that I can play all down through Florida and all up the East Coast, and I know some places on the West Coast. It's just a matter of connecting the dots, and and other thing is
you got to come to the Midwest. You got to come to northern Minnesota. You got to, because I feel like you're the type, like if you even if you bring a big presence with you, there's a lot of places around here, around my area, that are starving for entertainment. I'm serious. I'm not just saying that just to get you to come over here. We are starving for entertainment around here. More people care about farming conventions than they do about concerts and stuff, or whatever. We have Tractor Con instead of Comic Con. It's like you got to get out of that. We're all kind of blue collar people around here, most of us anyway. But it's like I think that's the type of style that they would appreciate. We have a place in St. February called the Ralph Engelson Arena. Small arena, could probably hold about maybe 3,000 people. I might have to talk to Mark and see if I can, or talk to the arena and see if they book you, because you're the type of person that they need to bring people together. I think.
Yeah, man, it'll be great. I'm ready to play anywhere and everywhere, and that's the game plan.
Yeah. Well, I'm serious, because it's like all these big stars that come to Minnesota. The only place that they play is Minneapolis. They don't, or Duluth. They won't come to like any of the other towns. They barely come to North Dakota unless you're like somebody that's been through North Dakota a bunch of times. I'm close to like Grand Forks and Fargo. I mean, even wrestling promotions nowadays don't even come our way anymore. They used to WWE and I used to come down here all the time, and then AEW still hasn't came. Yep. And it's like I don't understand. We got Fargo Dome, we got the Alair Center, we got Big Ralph.
You don't have no wrestling. They don't do any wrestling around there.
They used to. WWE used to come down, and we used to at least do house shows and stuff at the Alair Center. But they I don't know what the deal is now.
Man, man, I used to and I know we're getting off the subject of music, but I do love the old rap. I mean, some of the news okay, but man. I came up when I was a kid. I was watching, Ric Flair and those guys. Sure. And man, how do you? I don't know. I don't think we'll ever have anything like that again. Those guys.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, you know. I feel because are you kind of similar to me in age, kind of? Because I'm 41.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you.
Okay, so you remember WCW, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
See, that's what I grew up on, and I was a big fan of. I was more of a WCW guy than I was a WWF guy, you know, and still am. AEW reminds me of that totally, 100%. And people have said that many times that as far as that promotion goes, that's what they feel like, not just because of the TBS or TNT or whatever that helped a little bit, but the way they present themselves is it feels like WCW is back, and I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever read Ric Flair's book, but I actually read it, and I remember, you know, people would argue, say, "Man, that's fake, that's fake." I said, "Well, yeah, to a certain extent, but you know, it's a lot of it's, you know, it's happening in the moment too. You know, there's, you know, I know they're protecting each other, but when I read Ric Flair's book and what they went through and how much they wrestled and what their bodies went through, and you know, we don't see that. It's kind of like being a musician or being a radio DJ. You know, same thing. You don't see what it took, what they had to go through to get, you know. And then they got to try to keep it and hope and pray they don't get hurt. And, you know, then what? You know, what do you do after that? You know, so
the fact that Flair survived a plane accident, you know, I mean, that could have took his life right there. And for some reason, it made him different. It made him probably better, you know, because he looked a lot chunkier back in his early days. People don't realize that he was almost like Dusty Rhodes, almost like he was a big boy.
Yeah. I love that Dusty Rhodes, man. I love him too.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's good. I mean, it's nice to know there's another wrestler because you sound like you have that southern accent. You must be from, where are you from? Like Georgia or somewhere? Or?
No. Well, close. We're close. I'm from Greer, South Carolina, and I was born in Welford, which, you know, that's had a little farm out there.
So I'm a fan of Rhett and Link from North Carolina. They're from they do the Good Mystical Morning on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard them.
I don't think so.
Good Mystical Morning. They're based out of California now, but they're from North Carolina. You know,
okay.
So close to you anyway, or close to where you're from. But no, yeah, because I could tell with your accent that you're either from Georgia or Carolina or Tennessee or somewhere. It's hodgepodge, you know. Hell, you can be from Florida about that accent,
well,
you know.
you should have heard some of my grandfather's people. It was I mean, you know, you don't really think about it coming up, you know, and I don't really sound that Southern compared to, you know, a lot of people. I remember we was on tour in Europe, and our drummer was this French guy, and super guy, funny as hell. But he would always want us to teach him how to speak Southern, you know, like, you know, hey, y'all, you know, come over here. Oh, come over. And we would try to teach. And then so you have this French guy trying to speak Southern. And it was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. And so we'd finish a show. Let's say we had a few drinks or something afterwards, and we're on the get back in the van. And he's like, I don't understand you. I'm like, what? He's like, the more you drink, the more Southern you sound, and I can't understand you.
More like gibberish, probably. Or
I know. I said, gibberish.
That's funny. That's funny. So, with the new album coming out, I have to ask, you know, what's a personal song that's a favorite of yours that means the most to you?
Man, you know, there are, again, a lot of them are just fun songs. I will say, I try to break this down. The song "Here She Comes," I mean, it's not like one of those songs that's got a lot of meaning. It's just a fun song about a girl walks into a bar, sits down, gets a glass of wine, and people won't leave her the hell alone, so she leaves. That's it. But the cool thing about that song was, I don't know, you ever heard of DMX?
Yes.
Okay. So he moved to Greer. I think he's originally from Greer. I don't know. His mother lived here, and he moved back. And you know, and every now and then you'd have a DMX sighting, you know, like Bigfoot, you know. and I went after we finished a gig one night. We went to this one little pub, and him and a few people were in there, and he was walking around with the whole bottle like Jim Beam, just drinking it, and he was wide open. But then, you know, he was pretty out there. But then I saw him again. him and his brother were coming out of the store, and he was completely straight. He wasn't doing all that. He wasn't talking that way. He was talking normal. And we talked for a minute, and he was just, nicest guy. So when I got home, and I never really listened. I mean, I just grew up in, the 80s and 90s. So I was exposed to rap, but it wasn't really my thing. But I can appreciate it. And so I went back and I listened to some of DMX's songs and the lyrics. I pull up the lyrics or write them down, and I was like, man, some of it's pretty deep, and some of it's angry or whatever. But it was still. And so what I did, I said, what if I could sing this, in a blues song? And so I took his lyrics and I just kind of would sing along with it and do it in my own, use his lyrics and do it my own way, and it worked. And so, but it gave me a different mindset on how to, to write. I took me out of the box, because most songs are like, I woke up this morning feeling around for my shoes. You repeat that, I knew by that I had the Milwaukee blues. It's that rhyme, and it's kind of repetitive, Whereas, in that song, if you listen to it, it's almost written like a rap song, but but I just put this funky groove on it,
Yeah,
So. But that one, and as far as, but I think one of I think one of them that probably I've said this before. It's been with me for about 25 years. I think Too Much and Not Enough, Not Enough or Too Much. That one. I had that idea for a long time, and I said this before. That song just kind of it just stuck with me. I mean, it never. I didn't write it down. It just that the concept stuck in my head. And then we were playing we were setting up doing a sound check, and the drummer started playing this little groove, and I was like, wait a minute. I said, keep doing that, And I grabbed my guitar, and I kind of laid down, I hit that up. It's like, and that was it. Once I did that to that group, to that drum beat, the song just started pouring out of I just had to get it written down as quick as I could. And, but it stayed, the idea stayed with me about 25 years before I actually done it. So, but that's one of my favorites.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. Well, maybe you should play that one for us as we end the interview here. I think that'd be, are you able to do like a little acoustic set at all, or you?
Oh man, I don't know. I yeah,
you have it right now, so it seems like you just like, oh, cool, let's play guitar.
Yeah, but no, that was a good song, man. It's when you listen to the actual recording of it, it was kind of cool because John did everything, like I said, reel to reel, and it was he didn't use any digital effects or anything like that, but he ran the vocals and he did all the instruments like that. He'd run it back through the tape, the reel to reel, and he would speed it up and he would push the vocals to the edge and then pull it back. And on that particular one, I wasn't there when he did it, but I think he kind of left it. He pushed it a little more to the edge, and that's fine. I mean, it's just got a different sound. People has asked me about that, and I'm like, well, that's just the way John felt it, and he's the engineer. Let him do what he did, and that's the way he did it. But it's a cool song. I really like it. It's simple, but it's when we play it out live, people always hit the dance floor. I don't know what it is. So
it's music. That's what people want to listen to. They want to listen to something that's good and everything. And I really enjoyed spending time with you there, Max. I mean, this has been
you too, man. It's been great.
Early on, I appreciate you spend the time with me. And for anybody that wants to know more about you and hasn't learned enough from this interview, how could they do so? Well,
I got the website, and then or you can go to Mojo Records, and anyway, that's where you can find me. Or there's Facebook, Instagram, all those places. I'm out there. I'm not trying to hide.
Oh no.
I know what you're saying.
That's for sure. Well, I appreciate you, man, and thanks again for spending some time with me and doing this interview, because it's nice to learn a lot about you, and it's nice to know that you have other interests other than this music. Nice that we were able to talk about a variety of things.
Yeah, man. Maybe I can get up there and we can maybe we can we talk some wrestling.
Yeah, that'd be great because I love doing that. That as you can tell. So
yeah, I can tell, man. I can tell.
I appreciate you, and thanks again for just doing the show. And we'll see you down the road. I would say.
All right, take care. Right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
VHS tapes on my old shelf. Posters hanging, can't help myself. John Hughes classics, the Brat Packs run. Blockbusters ruling, the action's fun. Back to the Future with Michael J. Ghostbusters fighting the ghostly play. Armored heroes in turtle shells. Batman's cape casting mighty spells. Guess who's back? It's Marty McFly. Racing the DeLorean, we're gonna fly high. Gremlins causing chaos. Ferris took a day. Dialing up the classics in the old VCR way. VCR way. Get down loud. Arnold's on the screen. Terminator's glare. E.T.'s phoning home. Spielberg's flare. Rocky's in the ring. Punching through the pain. Aliens invade. And Ripley's game. With Michael J. Ghostbusters fighting the ghostly play. Armored heroes in turtle shells. Batman's cape casting mighty spells. Guess who's back? It's Marty McFly. Racing the DeLorean, we're gonna fly high. Gremlins causing chaos. Ferris took a day. Dialing up the classics in the old VCR way. Top Gun Mavericks and Die Hard thrills. Cruising through the decades, seeking cheap chills. From Jurassic Park's Dino screams at night to Wayne and Garth partying with all their might. Singing Hakuna Matata, feeling carefree. The Lion King's roar in our memories. Living in a golden age where legends thrive. Karate Kid kicking makes us feel alive. From Indiana Jones with his whip in hand to Pretty Woman roaming Wonderland. Flashbacks to the silver screen in Hollywood's gleam. Imagining the stories, living out the dream. Back to the Future with Michael J. Ghostbusters fighting the ghostly play. Armored heroes in turtle shells. Batman's cape casting mighty spells. Guess who's back? It's Marty McFly. Racing the DeLorean, we're gonna fly